We would like to start now the second panel about policies and instruments. And we have already heard in the previous presentations a lot that this matters to set the framework conditions to support the sector in the right way. And we would like to hear from several presenters some examples of regional and national examples in the sector. But I think a first thing is also that we really engage again and that we actually pass on the right message. And I want to actually not give another PowerPoint presentation because you see there's a lot of info here, but our co-organizer Holzcluster has prepared a short video clip for us, which also just came in yesterday. It's the first version, so you might recognize it's not completely ready, but I think the main storytelling is there, and we want to show you the clip to get back into the mood. And I think taking back of that, how can we communicate as a sector, as an entire community later about it? And this is what we would then touch on in the panel discussion as well.
Imagine buildings made out of a material that helps the planet become greener again. Wait, those buildings already exist. Ho Wien, Financial Park Bjergsted, Prince Eugen Park, Le Campus Arboretum, Swatch Headquarters, World of Volvo, Hout, social dwellings in Cornelia, and many more. Did you know that wood products store carbon for a long time? Every cubic meter of wood binds a ton of CO2. Using more wood in buildings will be essential to decarbonize the construction sector. European initiatives make it happen. Slovenian GPP requires 30% wood-based construction materials in public buildings. Spanish region Galicia aims for 20% of regional government buildings to use wood in their structure. Austria offers CO2 bonus, €1 per kilogram of wood used in buildings. In 2005, Austrian province of Styria committed to using 20% timber construction in social housing. Now, Styria has reached 33% wood usage in such housing. Let's foster the green and digital transition in the built environment. Let's build with wood.
So, as I just said, this is the way we think we could talk about our sector. We should become confident. We should become stronger as a voice. And what we want to show in this panel is that there are actually already a lot of things happening in the regions on the national level in certain countries in Europe. And with this, I want to open the floor and maybe also give you the word for some thoughts on this.
Well, I think that these percentages and examples with the simple messages are important, but of course I believe that we will today also share that there is still room also to improve, and what all we can do together that actually we achieve even higher numbers. And
yeah. So Alexander Pinter is the CEO from Holzcluster Steiermark, and I think you can give us the first example how, like, in Styria, wood building is not a new thing, and we want to learn from this example. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Alexander Pinter, and I'm, as you mentioned, the CEO of the Woodcluster Styria. But what I also want to tell you that I was a member of the regional parliament of Styria, so I have a little bit of a political background as well. And yeah, let's get into things a little bit. I gave my short talk the title Evolution of Timber Construction in Styria and Austria. So let's get into things. And Austria is a woodland. We have a forest share of almost 50% in Austria, with Styria being the number one with a forest share of 62%. And our main tree species in Styria is spruce, by far actually, with number 2 being beech and number 3 being larch. But this is the gap is quite significant. We are at 8% beech and 6% larch, so spruce is really our main tree species. Let's get to the wood industry in Styria. Our wood value chain spans from small businesses, startups, up to the big global players. You've seen Haslacher today already, there's Meyer Melnhof, there's several other key players, and it's a big thing in Styria. We have 55,000 employees working in 5,800 companies and a gross value added of 3.4 billion euros, so Styria and wood, that's a match. We can safely say that. And if you look at the slide on the lower picture, that's also something that stands for the innovation, the use of wood not only in construction, but also as a lightweight material in transport, in automotive, in buses, in trains. So that's what we're aiming for as well, just as additional information. Timber construction is on the rise. We can safely say that over the past 25 years, the rise has been significant, and there's reasons for that, of course. There have been technological innovations, there has been an increasing demand for sustainable materials, and also, as mentioned in the video already, there was the political backing for it. And I want to get into that a little bit, because speaking of technological innovations, one product, of course, stands out. I think everybody in here will know what I'm talking about. It's cross-laminated timber developed in the 1990s, where Styria and especially the Technical University of Graz played a significant role in the development of this project, and cross-laminated timber just revolutionized the way of how we can build with wood. It allowed for much larger and complex structures, and what really stands out up to the very day is that over 50% of the worldwide production of cross-laminated timber is still being produced in Austria, making Austria, and especially the southeast of Austria, an innovation and production hub for cross-laminated timber. And speaking of innovation, Styria, especially, also with our organization, we're a hub for innovation, a hub for research, and our organization is a hub connecting the companies among themselves, but also to the research institutes. So we're having 16 research and development organizations in our network, which we're connecting with the industry, so we can really fit the demands of the industry and put the things we learned there into research projects, a very important point of our doings in research. And just mentioning what we also do, because when we think of wood and construction with wood, we think of the material, but we also need the people who can work with wood, who can plan with wood. And we're also trying to put our efforts in this area, creating new university courses for this topic, creating more digitalization in forestry education, and also trying to implement the use of new tree species in the building sector. So we not only rely on spruce, but also thinking about new tree species that we can use in this field. So let's get to the political things, to the political aspects of timber construction in Styria. As mentioned in the video too, we had the Styrian Wood Charter of the year 2005. It was signed by Provincial Councillor Hans Seitinger and really was a big push in terms of social housing. So the goal was to rise the share of social housing to 20%. And as of now, 33% of the projects that are currently being realized in the social housing field are 33% are timber construction, which I think is a fantastic number. So we really can see that the political effort that was done in 2005 has led to quite something here. And one word to the term social housing, how we see it in Austria, because it can be misleading. It can be interpreted in the way of cheap. But this is not the case in Austria. Social housing is high quality yet affordable housing. That's what it means in Austria. Yeah, numbers. Let's get to the numbers a little bit. So as mentioned before, the goal of the Wood Charter was 20%, and currently we're at 33%, which is quite amazing. But the overall share of multi-story buildings in Styria is 15.5% and has an uptick tendency, and this number is from 2019. And we have to say that also the successor of Mr. Hans Seitinger, who unfortunately passed away recently, Ms. Simone Schmidbauer, who is a former member of the European Parliament, she put timber construction on the top of her agenda as well. And as you can see, the strategy of Styria led to the fact that most of the multi-story buildings were actually social housing projects, which of course makes sense. And the total number of multi-story construction projects in the time span was 175 buildings. And of course, I want to give a brief overview about the numbers of Austria too. The timber construction in Austria has almost doubled in the span from 1998 to 2009, from 14% to 24%. And one fact that we like to point out, because we think it's very valuable, is the significant increase in the public buildings, because you see those every day and you experience those every day, and they get a part of your daily life. So it's schools, it's kindergartens, it's nursing homes, and this went from 1% to 90%. That's a success story from our country as well. And you can really say that wood has established itself as a competitive material in terms of multi-story buildings in comparison to the so-called conventional materials like concrete and steel. And the key factors were the working of research institutions, not only in Styria, but in Austria, and the collaborations between industry and research, and also the connecting hubs. Not only the wood cluster Styria, we have those all over Austria. And also the adaptations in legislation, which I want to point out just real quick as to sum up my presentation. Here are some of the changes that has led to the more intensive use of timber. It's more flexible fire protection regulations for wooden buildings, adapted load-bearing and structural requirements, increased permissible building heights, specific thermal and acoustical insulation requirements for timber, strengthening the focus on sustainability in building codes. And of course, this is not something that happens at one point, it's always periods. That's why I put the periods there during these changes have happened. And that's it for me for now. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for driving the issue together.
First of all, I want to thank you, the organization, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jacobo Aboal, and right now the director of public industry agency. It's Forest Industry Agency. This is the name. It belongs to the regional government of La Xunta de Galicia. That's the name of my regional government. I've been working in the regional government for more than 25 years. During 5 years, I worked as a technician into the headquarters of the Extinction Forest Service, and we usually use a term called window of opportunity. It's critical window or open window to refer that period of time due to different factors like, weather conditions, topographic conditions, availability of resources, actions can be taken in order to control a forest fire, a wildfire. And this period of time usually will last in a short period of time, so you have to take advantage of it quickly. 260,000 of new houses. This is the gap between the current housing stock in Spain and the population's needs. So there are a lot of protests and demonstration are more and more common in Spain. And as a result, you know, all the governments at all levels, I mean municipalities, regional governments, and central government are announced, plans and programs related to public housing promotion for the coming years. And my region announced as well one of these plans. So we decided to present to our regional parliament a proposal in order to encourage, to urge to the regional government the use of wood in at least 20% of the new public building structure. And this proposal was approved for all political parties unanimously. So the president of the region publicly declared this commitment, and he pulled the trigger. As a first steps, we started to create flagship projects with the educational centers, vocational training centers, even the forest firefighting facilities began to include timber in their structures. But if I have to underline a remarkable change, it was when the health care service, I mean the regional health service, incorporated into this strategy. All these new health care centers, there are a lot of in Galicia, all over the territory, began to include wood in their structures and facades. And for us it was a great opportunity to incorporate or try to include some messages. I have to recognize that the health service in Galicia from the very beginning understood all the advantage of wood in constructions: comfort, well-being, energy efficiency, decarbonization, and even rural impact in our policies. So we, as you can see, we included a sign in the main entrance of this kind of facility with a QR code. I invite you to scan this QR code. And we developed software for free, and we offered to all the stakeholders involved in the wood value chain to record all the operations from the forest to the final product. So we take advantage of, there are a lot of visitors every day in these health care centers. And as long as they are waiting for seeing by the doctor, they can scan this QR code and get all the information. As I said before, all the steps taken by the timber from the forest to the final product site are recording. In addition, we included calculation of carbon footprint, wood transportation distance, and a radius in kilometers that contains all operations. In addition, we launched several calls, subsidy lines, in order to promote, the use wood products on structural elements in private building promotion. And I have to recognize that they have been success. I mean, the last one, we got an initial budget of 5 million euros. We received more than 680 applications, supposed more than 12 million euros. And hopefully we granted only 250, but I'm wondering how many of these non-granted applications, in the end, they select to keep on and use wood in their structures. This is some examples of this kind of subsidies, different uses, residential uses. Public administration must play a significant role in any timber construction strategy. They have to be driving forces, but without participation of all stakeholders, it's impossible to be successful. Training for us is one of the major key factors in any possible strategy. Agency, we celebrate every year training courses to public employees, but for the rest, we rely on our private and public universities, our forest organizations, and clusters of the manufacturing companies. And we are spending a lot of financial and human resources through subsidy lines at this regard. Timber engineering, industrialization. If you are creating a demand of specific products like CLT, glulam, LVL, you have to be sure that you have an, I would say, a strong industrial tissue underneath. You have to take into account that it's needed, and even if it's possible, a local scale, an industry able to satisfy all the demand that you are generating. We have, again, a lot of subsidy lines, more than 27 million euros in the last 3 years, in order to support our small and medium companies to promote and to be more competitive. Industrialization, automatization, digitalization, we are spending a lot of money. Innovation and research projects. It's pretty important to maintain, and for these reasons, we are trying to create or develop mixed elements, as you can see, trying to mitigate or reduce some problems inherent to wood, like acoustic issues or fire-resistant issues. And we're trying to develop some products as much efficient as possible regarding to use of wood. And I think for us it's a good news, because sometimes price is one of the biggest handicaps talking about any strategy of wood construction. We do really believe that we have a good opportunity regarding this carbon removal system that CERA presented to us in order to generate an extra income for building owners and from promoters. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I will share with you briefly about the green public procurement in Slovenia. And it's something that we were working for quite some time, and today I'm very pleased that we have a decree on green public procurement regarding buildings that is defining that all publicly financed buildings, they need to be having at least 30% of a volume that is wood, and this is of course above ground. And what I would emphasize is that it's not only if it's a public building, as long as the public funds are being used. Of course, as we were struggling if we will be able to achieve this, that this will be in the decree, we also had some exceptions that, of course, you can reduce this in case that you have at least 10% of construction products that are having environmental label of type 1 or type 3. Type 3, it's the environmental products declarations. It's also possible that you can have a lower percentage of wood in case you have some sustainable building certification. And what I would emphasize is that we are constantly aiming to have all these different building types that are part of the, actually, of the regulation. And so far it's quite successful, so we have majority of the buildings are actually under this degree of green public procurement. And of course here it's one of the important aspects is how do you calculate this, you know, how do you define the volume of the materials, but we also have it defined how it needs to be calculated. And we need to also really openly share that, as we were hearing in the morning, that you do not get a building permit in case you don't have a life cycle assessment. In our case, we have very clear requirements, but it's not completely clear if someone will not get a building permit if doesn't follow this fully. And of course, this is leading us to the need for training and reskilling. So in Slovenia, at the University of Primorska, we established a pioneer hub of New European Bauhaus Academy on sustainable built environments with renewable materials that grew into the New European Bauhaus Academy that we will be talking this afternoon about. And at the same time, would like to also share that it is important that there is a place where people can experience timber buildings, and we also need to be aware that we need to be still gaining the knowledge and we need to learn. And so we have at InnoRenew Research Institute a unique facility where the building, it's a mass timber building that we like to say it's demonstration of our knowledge, at the same time our research object. And we are also best practice example of the New European Bauhaus as a approach how to build, and this is maybe a topic that in the afternoon we will discuss more. But the fact is that we should not forget that if we want to really increase the use of timber, we need to be reskilling and upskilling the construction ecosystem. With that, I would like to thank you and at the same time invite you to come and see what all we can learn in this building that is currently the biggest wooden building in Slovenia.
Thanks a lot.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Höcker. I work for the Bavarian State Ministry of Food, Agriculture, Forestry and Tourism, and as said, therefore, for the Department of Timber Industry and Forestry Technology. And I'm happy to present you the Bavarian Timber Construction Initiative. First of all, I would like to give you a little historical backview, what made us to launch this initiative. And afterwards I will show you the different parts of the initiative.
Sorry, that's always a bug.
Of course, as a forestry ministry, what drives us is the sustainable forest management. And to manage the forests successfully, we need to use the timber that we harvest. We know that, but we're still struggling to explain people in a credible way that the forest management contributes to climate protection if we use the wood that we harvest. Because we all know we need a change in the construction sector if we want to protect our climate. But if we say that the construction sector is sustainable for 30% of the CO2 emissions and 50% of the waste emissions, as a forestry ministry, it's like fishing in foreign waters. But if we say that we could use the timber from our own forests, it slowly becomes a good narrative. And when we can convey that we really have enough timber to build with wood in Bavaria, and we help the forests by using this wood, the narrative story becomes even better. So 4 years ago, we started with a round table with experts and stakeholders to hear their wishes, because we wanted to know what they need to have a successful change in the construction sector. But how do we approach the matter? You can either go the political way and bring the topic into the cabinet and the parliaments, but this requires a lot of coordination, often with compromises, and it's a pretty long and stony way. So you can also spice up the topic as much as the chef likes it. This is what we did. We already set the expression of the climate forests pretty successfully, and we wanted to set the expression of climate houses again, because we want to have a positive association, because then you get the attention on another sentence, the second sentence. So here you can see a few quotes of the government statements from our forestry minister, Michaela Kanniba, and our minister president, Dr. Markus Söder. I just want to show you the first ones. Our goal must be for the state to build with wood wherever possible. And Mr. President, Dr. Söder said, in future, we will therefore give clear priority to wood in state building projects. Wood will be used wherever it's possible. So, well, you can decide on yourself how well we approach the matter here. However, we did get a few orders from the government, which also set down in the initiative. So the first point of the initiative is the state role model function. Wherever possible, it should be built with wood, and the decision in favor of other construction methods must be justified when the state of Bavaria builds. Another big part of the initiative is the Bavarian Timber Construction Funding Program, which we did with the Ministry of Construction. And in this funding program, we do not fund the use of wood particularly, but the CO2, the CO2 savings of using wood. So you can get 500 euros per ton of CO2 bound in the wood that is used in the buildings. And we had a great success with this program. More than 400 applications have we received, and we already have approved funds amount 46 million euros, and already have created 290 timber buildings. And this also has a pretty much climate impact. If all buildings that are applied are built, there will be a carbon stock around 100,000 tons of CO2. But I also don't want to hide that a funding program which is pretty one-sided creates anger and anger reactions from the mineral industry, mainly from the brick industry. And as we did this with the Ministry of Construction, we get the good words as like, and the Ministry of Construction all gets the blame, especially the Minister of Construction. And if it's so one-sided, this political issue can get pretty controversial, and did get pretty controversial. So right now we are currently trying to counteract this by making the timber construction initiative even more visible to the public. Another part is the expert advice on timber construction in Bavaria, which is a free and company-neutral initial consultation on the technical basis of timber and timber hybrid constructions. So if a mayor wants to build a new kindergarten for his city, but he has heard that timber is burning pretty good and he isn't sure about it, he can call the expert advice and gets connected to an expert who can give him the information he needs. We also want to expansion the knowledge and transfer of consulting. We also think that there only will be a turnaround with the appropriate know-how. Will only happen if the training is not only provided to universities, but also to architects and planners who are already in profession. So we do both. Then there are also Bavarian flagship projects. We have launched the Bavarian Timber Construction Award, which is a pretty prestigious 4-year competition with pricings around 30,000 euros. And we encourage studies that try to build the new campus of the university in Nuremberg completely with wood. And we encourage research and innovation. Our further research projects will be plannings and elevation of flexible living concepts in timber construction for the different phases of life. So this was a pretty quick overview of the Bavarian Timber initiative. It's it's pretty difficult to do this in this short time, but do not hesitate if you have any questions, and if you want further information, you can look it up at the internet. Thanks for your attention, and have a nice evening.
Yes, thank you very much for this very interesting and I think rich examples we have already. We have seen, you know, the industry-driven and the research-driven side in Austria. We have seen the public actors stimulating it. We have seen legislative examples. Now we have also seen many examples how to engage with the whole research community, training people, offering, you know, incentives. So we see a whole, let's say, set of options. And my question to you now would be, how can we connect this better in Europe, or what did you take from these other initiatives that you saw? You know very well your region, but what is the European view on this? So I would like to give this question maybe also to you, and afterwards we will also open the questions to the audiences. Yeah.
If I may make a comment and then turn it into a question to Alex, because you made such a nice list of regulations, and this is usually what we hear, that it's a barrier in many countries. And I'm like, now you gave us a list what we need to do in other countries, but at the same time I'm 100% sure that you know which one needs to come next. And I wonder if you are willing to share with us like how further will be enhancing the timber buildings.
First of all, to Uwe, I think the exchange over the borders of our countries is a very important thing, that we share our best practice models. Like that I think in every country there's something that stands out, and we have these facts accessible, made to everybody. I think that's very important. For instance, Slovenia has a very prominent example with a 30% rate, and I think Austria has quite a few examples. Referring to a question about the legislation, I'm actually not quite sure which is the most important next step. I think all of those are equally important. But I think one thing, I might think about one, but which has actually already been addressed, but speaking to people, it's always been the first, even if I talk to people where I think they should actually know about this, but it's fire. It's the fact that if you talk about wood construction, and then people always say, oh, but isn't fire an issue? And we all know as people who deal with the subject, it's not. But this is something that I think that communication is really an issue there, because I think there's a barrier in the mind. So I would go with this answer: explain this to the people that this is not an issue in building with wood.
Yes, thanks. Please hand over the mic. Jacobo, what is your take on this?
Well, I think to me, while this in Spain, maybe our region can be useful for other regions in order to put pressure to the regional government and be useful like a trigger effect, and try to provide some experience and to provide our the way that we approach and try to connect all regions and try to, as I said before, to be as a trigger effect for other regions. That's my point of view.
I think it's pretty important to connect different initiatives because the problems that we have are all the same. Europe is, the different countries are pretty small, so we can connect pretty easily, I think. And I think we can do it good over research, over the universities that are already connected, but also like like organizations like the Holzcluster Steiermark. We have the in Germany we have the in Bavaria we have the cluster Forstholz, which is pretty similar to the Holzcluster Steiermark, and these organizations can also can be the links to the different countries, I think.
And what is your take on this legislative, let's say we have to tackle the regulations, we have to support more on the legislative side. What is your view on that from Bavaria?
Yeah, I think communication is the key. We have to communicate, we have to tell that I always say we have the good arguments on our side, but we have to communicate them to the governments, to the to politicals, and also to society. Because there are many rumors about about using wood, and what we heard from the mineral companies, they are encouraging these rumors, like this fake news, if you like, because they see that we are growing, we are always we are building more and more with wood. And so we need to communicate more. I think this is the key.
Okay. So with this, we would like to open also the floor to the audience for questions. I think it will be interesting, and we try to get everybody. I've seen your hand up first.
Good morning. Thank you very much for a really interesting presentation in the program. My name is Katarzyna Kwiecińska. I work in the European Commission in DigiGrow. So I wanted to ask you, what were the opportunities for other wood-based sectors with this increased use of wood? So in other words, what happens with the rest of the tree that is not utilized in the construction? How do you see that? Because it's about really efficient use of that tree, right? The classical example is that the lower part of the tree is used for construction and the upper maybe for pulp and paper. But I wanted to ask you how it works in your regions and whether any, for instance, innovative solutions were driven by this increased use of wood in construction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting question. Who would like to take and react on that first?
Then in Bavaria, we try to use as much wood as possible in the building construction and pulp and paper, and also bioeconomy, but also for energy, because wood energy is also sustainable, but you have to use the wood as long as possible and use as much as wood as you can from the tree.
You mentioned it already, bioeconomy is an important issue, and we've just founded a nationwide cluster for bioeconomy in Austria. We are also a founding member of this, and we are also trying to use like every part of the tree and also the side products that develop. The biochar is a new issue that will come up, and we're also trying to use the leftovers in isolation, which is an important issue in construction as well. So we really want to, it's a valuable resource, and we want to use like everything that the forest offers. So and of course innovation and research is addressing these topics as well.
Okay, thank you. I think these were quite some useful reactions. And then more questions, please. Yeah, please over there.
Hi, I'm Antti Kolmes from a company called UPM, also representing the Seibois board. Very many interesting examples of how to promote wooden construction. Thank you very much. I wanted to ask a slightly polarizing question, perhaps, since you've all seen different kinds of policies. What works best? Subsidies, setting mandatory requirements, or just setting an example and giving advice?
Okay. Andreja.
I would say that it's a combination, and of course the subsidies can be encouraging. At the same time, we need to be assuring that there is political will and demonstration, and that people can experience, and that everyone involved can learn how to do it, because that's how we will also make it cheaper, more affordable, because when everyone is fearing that something goes wrong, they will, of course, architect, all the engineers, everyone responsible will increase the price. So I would say that the examples and then, of course, the push and the scale up.
Please, some more reactions from you as well.
You know, to me, it's, as Andreja says, everything starts with political willing, and to express publicly, you know, a firm commitment about to use timber in construction, and from this point of view, I think all the other things are maybe quite easy. I mean, in terms of you need subsidy lines, and in case of Galicia, our subsidy lines, I have to recognize, are working pretty well, but all starting with a political willing in Parliament, and if it's possible at higher levels, President, First Minister. To me, it's a key factor in any strategy related with timber construction.
Thank you. I think we have time for another question.
Yes.
Okay, please.
Thank you. Okay, it was mentioned earlier, standardization. I represent the Mirror Committee of the Eurocode 5 in Norway. And you guys did not mention standardization. I believe the standardization committees should have the Nobel Peace Prize soon, because this is how we communicate, right? So please, could you just say how you support standardization?
I think a very important question. We have also seen this in many presentations, how impactful these standards and codes are. Who could react on that?
Just shortly, obviously very important, especially as we become trendy in terms of where we want to live. Also, it might be that building with timber is also done improperly, and so I think that standards should go even beyond and actually check the building when it is constructed, if everything was done properly.
Thanks for the topic. It's a very important one. And I just very briefly, but we address this topic in our organization too. We have a research project called SysWood, which is about the standardizing the connection points between the companies, which is also always a troubling point. And yeah, something that has to be definitely addressed, because many times it happens that everything starts from scratch over and over again, and that's a problem, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the topic. In our Bavarian founding program, we have high standards that the houses have to reach. So we try to do it that way at the founding program. This was not enough time to give you the details, but it is a big topic in Bavaria too. Yeah.
Okay, then please the last question.
First of all, thank you very much for your presentations. I'm Anke from Ghent University, and I'm a researcher about wood and moisture. So fire was brought up as a potential risk or fear. Also acoustics were mentioned, but issues due to moisture during construction were not mentioned at all. So I'm interested in how your take on this is. How should we build in a safe way with wood, and how do we inform architects and contractors in a way on how to build it in a safe way?
You got us. You have to form the point.
Sorry. We attended the summer school on this topic. So I strongly believe that we should utilize the digital world and have sensors built in. The building I was showing to you has 140 sensors, and we are, of course, when the insurance company came and was afraid fire and so on, and then I explained to them that we are afraid of water, then they will say, oh, but you have a lot of windows, and it's like, oh, I didn't do this right. So, but anyhow, we need to be aware that a small error during the construction will bring a problem, not tomorrow, as it would be in a concrete building, but in 5 years, and the problem will be way bigger. And so I believe sensors are the solutions.
Yeah, and just to add, I mean, moisture management, it's not new, you know. I mean, in the western part of our country, we have wooden constructions that are 600 years old, so it's just something that we have to think about and care about it for sure. But we know that if we build properly, those buildings can last a very, very long time.
So I think we will close this panel here. It was very enriching examples, and I think a good first exchange. How also these regional perspectives and these national perspectives matter. So thanks again, and another hand for all the presenters.